Two women were sitting on a park bench, reading books. Suddenly, they noticed something strange. The people around them weren't moving at all. Then, a man slowly started walking backwards. People in the park either froze or fainted. A woman sitting on a bench stopped responding and pulled out a hairpin and buried it deep in her neck. A heavy atmosphere of unease permeated the air. A short distance away, some people were working on a building. The workers were joking among themselves. Suddenly, one of them fell from the roof. This caused sadness to spread across their faces. Everyone tried to understand what had happened. Soon, one by one, all the workers began falling from the roof, creating a terrifying scene on the ground. Meanwhile, a teacher named Elliot was teaching children at a school in Philadelphia. He discusses with them why the bees are disappearing. Just then, the vice principal arrives, wanting to speak with him alone. He follows her to where all the teachers are gathered. The school director tells them that a dangerous incident has occurred in New York's Central Park, the cause of which is still unclear. However, officials suspect that a toxic substance may have been released into the air. Therefore, the school is being closed for a few days. The students pack their bags and panickedly begin to leave. Elliot's friend Julian urges him to leave town, as the danger could reach Philadelphia. When Elliot and Julian leave the school, Elliot begins talking about his wife, Elma. Elliot says that he feels Elma is hiding something from him, which is causing a growing distance in their relationship. Julian tries to reason with her, but Elliot says, "Forget it, as if we never talked about it." Meanwhile, Elma sits anxiously at home. Suddenly, her phone rings, and she panics. She feels a strange sense of dread. Just then, a news report comes on TV, shocking her. The news anchor announces that New York City is being evacuated. Elma is confused by the news. She wonders what is so frightening that is forcing people to lose control of themselves. Elliot tries to maintain his composure and remain calm in the whole situation. Elliot says he will quickly pack up and be back in just 2 minutes. Elliot goes to get his things. Just then, Elma receives another message from Joy, but she ignores it. Meanwhile, Julian is standing at the station with his daughter, Jess, waiting for Elliot. Julian tells Elliot that he's already bought tickets for everyone. His wife, Yvette, will arrive later, as she's currently stuck in traffic. When Elma arrives at the station and meets Julian, she realizes that Julian knows about the problems between her and Elliot. The atmosphere becomes awkward and tense. Elma thinks it would be better if they don't sit with Elliot. Without a word, Elma takes Julian's ticket and goes to find a different seat on the train. The four board the train, and their journey begins. Meanwhile, the same dangerous poison spreads in a Philadelphia park, causing people to stop moving. A police officer present there suddenly draws his gun and kills himself. A man standing nearby picks up the policeman's gun and does the same. This makes the situation even more frightening and disturbing. Sitting on the train, Elma receives a phone call from Joey. Elma hesitates a bit, then replies that whatever happened between her and Joey was nothing serious. Elma says they just went to eat together and that Elliot should stop assuming there was anything more between them. A short while later, Elliot and Julian also receive information about the same dangerous events taking place in Philadelphia. Julian calls his wife, Yvette, but cannot communicate properly due to poor network connectivity. So he texts her, asking if she's safe. Yvette texts back to say she's boarded a bus to Princeton. Elliot meets with Elma again. Elma reassures him that she's fine, but also tells him that attacks have begun in Boston. A worried Elliot asks where Yvette is. Elma explains that she's traveling by bus. All the passengers on the train begin to panic, feeling that the danger isn't over yet. Suddenly, the train stops at a small station called Filbert. Confused and frightened, the passengers disembark. Elliot goes to the train attendant and asks why they're stopped there. The attendant says that the train won't go any further. This is the last stop because train service has been suspended. Elliot repeatedly asks, but the attendant says that there's no contact with the other stations. No one knows what's happening next. Elliot meets the others and tells them that they've arrived in a small town. He encourages everyone, saying that perhaps they'll be safe here. Everyone goes to a nearby restaurant where other people are already present. Elliot makes fun of little Jess to make her laugh and relieve her fear. He shows her a toy ring that changes color depending on her mood. As soon as the ring turns yellow, it means she's about to smile. Jess doesn't say anything at first, but when Elliot jokes around a little more, she smiles. At the same time, a woman shows Elliot a terrifying video. In the video, a man walks into a lion's cage. The lion attacks the man, and people watch in fear. Then, officials appear on TV. They say that similar incidents are happening elsewhere. They say that this isn't the work of any terrorist or gang. This is happening only in the Northeast and is gradually spreading throughout. As they try to gather more information, the lights go out. An old man, frightened, says that if everyone stays here, no one will survive. He believes that even this place is no longer safe. Such incidents are happening 90 meters away. Hearing this, people panic and start running. A man named Frank who owns a plant nursery, arrives. He offers to help everyone. He agrees to take Alma, Elliot, and the others with him because he needs to pick up some things from his house. He says the place they're going is still safe. Elliot calls out to Julian. He's talking to someone. Julian quickly arrives, worried because he hasn't been able to speak to the doctor in 2 hours. The people he spoke to are going to Princeton. Meanwhile, Yvette has gone to visit her relatives, so Julian decides to go with them. Before leaving, Julian tells Elliot that he's entrusting his most precious possession, his daughter, Jess, to him. He's confident that his daughter will be safest with Elliot. Julian gives Jess a family photo and leaves with the others. When they arrive at Frank's house, they all go to his plant nursery. Frank suggests that perhaps these strange deaths are being caused by plants. Jess touches a plant but immediately pulls her hand back in fear. Frank explains that plants can release certain gases and even affect human behavior. He begins speaking softly to the plants, as if trying to calm them down. He explains that research has shown that plants can sense human danger. Suddenly, Frank's wife comes running in fear. Everyone quickly prepares to leave. Just then, Julian arrives at Princeton, but finds a horrifying sight. Several corpses are hanging in the air. A woman sitting in a jeep panics. To calm her down, Julian asks her to solve a simple puzzle. He tells her to close all the windows to prevent the toxic substance from entering. Just as she begins to solve the puzzle, Julian notices a small hole in the jeep's roof. He realizes it's too late. Their end is near. Shortly after, the jeep accelerates and crashes into a tree, killing everyone inside. Only Julian survives. Julian emerges, shaken, and sits on the road in shock. He then injures himself with the shards of glass. Meanwhile, Frank, Elliot, and the others are driving through rural roads. Elliot consults a map and tells them where to go. They notice something strange on the road, so they all get out to look. They find many dead bodies lying there. Terrified, they turn off the road and look for another route. As they change direction, an army officer arrives and says that many people have died that way too. Don't go there. Now there are only 2 ways left. But people come from both sides and tell them that the poison has spread there too. Elliot and Alma get back in the car. Just then, Joy calls again. Elliot finally asks who this Joy is. Alma says he's his work colleague. Elliot says that Julian is no longer alive. He can't be contacted now. Suddenly, a soldier returns and says that no one can go anywhere. Everyone must stay where they are. Slowly, everyone starts getting out of their vehicles. After a while, Frank returns and gives new information. Nearby, a woman is talking on the phone with her daughter, who is at Princeton. She wants to know the situation there. People gather around her to listen. The woman's daughter is hiding in a closed room. The mother tells her daughter not to open the door and not to go near the window or the trees. Elliot calms the woman down and tells her again not to let her daughter go near the window. The mother tells her daughter to shut up and tell her if everything is okay back there in Princeton. The daughter explains that everyone outside is dead. The daughter initially says she's sitting quietly, not looking outside, but then suddenly starts making strange comments and joking, which frightens her mother. Then she suddenly falls silent and kills herself. Elliot listens, but the sound of the wind frightens him. The woman is devastated by her daughter's death. Elliot, distraught by this, goes aside to sit alone. Jess gently approaches Elliot and whispers something in his ear. Alma becomes very emotional at this. Frank explains that plants can target certain groups of people by releasing a special gas. Alma asks which species of plant could be doing this. Frank says that plants sense each other's condition, so any plant could do this. The army officer shares new information with Elliot. He says that according to statistics, the attacks began in cities. Then they spread to towns, and are now even in open fields. This means there's a lot of danger in the city areas. It's not safe to walk on the road. The officer says they're in a danger zone. Now the only way is to move to a safe place with less people. The officer suggests forming 2 groups and heading towards a small town that isn't on the map. Perhaps the danger hasn't reached there yet. Elliot leads the first group, the army man leads the second group, and then they leave. While walking, Alma tells Elliot a secret she's kept from him all this time. Alma says that if they're going to die, she wants to tell him something. She once had a brief fling with a boy named Joey. She only went out once and ate sweets, but now she's realized her mistake. Elliot is saddened and then quietly moves on. Immediately, a terrifying moment occurs. An army soldier from another group suddenly stops and begins behaving strangely. He mutters, starts walking backwards, pulls out his gun, and kills himself. His voice reaches Elliot's group. They realize the poison has now reached them too. Fear spreads. Gradually, people start hurting themselves. Elliot is frightened by the sound of gunfire. Elliot asks for some time to think. After some time, Elliot says that the plants are behind everything, but the attack was caused by their large group. Their group was large, so perhaps the plants did it. Alma says that they should warn the others. Elliot sadly explains that the army group has already left. Now they decide to run in 3 smaller groups. They see the wind coming towards them, but nothing happens. They remain safe. They move forward, and 2 boys, Jared and Josh, join their group. While running, Elliot sees a small truck nearby and takes everyone there. Inside the truck, Elliot finds a radio. A message comes that the dangerous things happening are spreading through the air. They see a house nearby. They run there, but everything inside seems fake, as if nothing is real. They search again, and finally find a map. Elliot says that plants communicate by emitting a kind of signal. Alma asks if this is really because of the plants. Elliot says he's not sure, but if the plants are really attacking, they should stay away from populated areas. That means they shouldn't go towards any city or village. Alma agrees. Now they're safe. So they slowly leave the house. As they approach the hill, they see a crowd running. But suddenly, the crowd stops moving. They realize the toxic effect has spread again. A man standing nearby turns on a lawnmower and runs straight into it. Elliot and his companions run away. A boy compliments Elliot's ring. Another takes it from him, claiming it's fake. They find a working radio in a field. The radio says people should head west and toward areas controlled by the police. Suddenly, the radio goes off. Finally, they approach a house. Elliot asks if they should go in. Elma says Jess needs food. Elliot recounts an old memory of having a crush on a co-worker, but never being able to talk to her. Elma smiles and forgives him. They slowly approach the house, watching through the door to see if anyone is inside. Jess starts swinging. The teenage boys become restless and want to go in, saying that perhaps the people inside are already dead. They tell the people inside that they will just eat and leave. Suddenly, a boy notices something moving inside. Elliot looks too. Elliot pleads with the people inside to listen, saying there is a little girl with them and they just need food for her. A voice from inside says, "Get out of here." Elliot says none of them are sick. Everyone is normal and alive. He even starts singing to prove it. The teenagers are scared and say that there might be more people inside and they could be dangerous. Just then, a boy moves to force the door open, but then a voice from inside says, "You're terrorists." Elliot tells them to stop. A bullet is fired through the window, killing a boy. Elliot runs towards them, but it's too late. Alma tells him that they have to get out of here for Jess's safety. Then the 3 of them run away. Later, they reach another house. There was no electricity there, and it seemed as if no one had been there in a long time. Elliot goes to check and rings the doorbell. An elderly woman sitting on a swing responds, saying there's nothing around Miles. The old woman serves everyone hot food. Everyone was tired, so they quickly start eating. The woman says, "I hope this food will be enough because I wasn't expecting any guests." Alma says, "This place is very beautiful and peaceful." The woman explains that there's a spring house behind. She says that the spring house is connected to the main house by a thin pipe. If someone speaks there, even softly, the sound can be heard in this house, as if someone is speaking from the basement. When Jess picks up a biscuit, the woman hits her hand hard. She angrily says, "Don't touch anything that isn't yours." Elliot calmly asks, "Do you have a radio or something to get news from outside?" She replies, "No, I don't have such a device." She says, "I don't need news from the outside world. I have my own work." She prepares everything herself, even cooking her own food. When they ask if she talks to anyone, she says, "No, I don't talk to anyone and I don't want to." Alma says, "If something bad happens outside, how will you know?" She angrily says, "Don't tell me about the outside world." She sadly says, "The world didn't support me when I needed it, so now I don't care about anyone." The old woman says, "Maybe you'll have to spend the night here." She shows them the guest room and tells them to sleep there. Elliot and Alma put Jess to bed. Fear is clearly visible on Elma's face. Elliot calms her down and says, "You're taking good care of Jess." Elma says, "That woman doesn't seem well. Something's wrong." Elliot reminds him, "We have no choice but to stay here." Just then, an elderly woman knocks on the door. "I heard some whispering," she says. "You guys sound like you're going to steal me." Elliot replies, "No, it's nothing like that." She asks a strange question. "Do you want to kill me while I'm sleeping?" Elliot is frightened, but calms down and says, "No, we're not going to do anything like that." Morning comes, and Elliot wakes up. He sees that both Elma and Jess are missing. Elliot immediately gets up, goes to the window, and starts searching the entire house. He looks in the kitchen, but Elma and Jess are nowhere to be found. Then, he goes to the old woman's room. He reaches the door. He pauses for a moment. Then he opens it. He thinks someone is sleeping, but when he gets closer, he realizes it's not a human being. It's just a makeshift doll. Then the old woman suddenly appears from behind. She starts screaming in rage and fear. She accuses Elliot, "You've come to rob me!" She shouts, "Get out of my house right now!" She goes out into the courtyard. Elliot follows right behind her. Elliot explains, "I'm a teacher. I have no ill intentions." As the woman turns, her body begins to shake strangely. Elliot realizes the toxic air has reached them as well. Terrified, he runs inside the house. He enters his room and closes the door tightly to prevent any air from entering. He sees the old woman again through the window. She starts banging her head against the glass. The sound of shattering glass echoes throughout the house. She falls to her death. Elliot remains silent in the room and prays for her life. Suddenly, Elliot senses something is wrong. He hears faint voices. They sound exactly like Elma and Jess's. He calls out to them loudly, but there's no response. He looks around, but there was no one in that room. He becomes suspicious, so he goes into another room. From the window, he sees the same spring house the woman had mentioned earlier. He realizes the sounds are coming from there. He quickly calls out to them, warning them that Wish has reached here as well. He tells them to close all the windows and cover all the holes. Alma and Jess quickly close everything. They seal the entire house to prevent the poisonous air from entering. Once everything is safe, Elliot sits quietly in a corner. He is scared, but now he has calmed down. He begins to apologize. He says, "I wish I could have saved you. I shouldn't have brought you here." He thinks, perhaps all this is happening because of the plants. Now these plants have become more dangerous and sensitive. He sadly says, "I wish I was with you, not locked in a room." He then remembers his and Alma's first meeting. He recalls their old romantic moments, which brings tears to both of their eyes. They are sad, but they feel warmth for each other. Elliot says that even if he has to die, he doesn't want to die alone. He decides to go out of the house. Elma and Jess are in the field in front of the house. Elliot slowly walks towards them. Elma also walks towards him. Jess follows them. The three of them, fearfully, come closer to each other. He holds Alma's hand, but the poison doesn't work. Everything seems fine. There seems to be no danger. Everyone relaxes and returns indoors. They think maybe the danger stopped before we even got outside. 3 months have passed. Things are back to normal. Jess now lives with them in the same house. Today is Jess's first day of school. Elma helps her like a mother. Elma puts a family photo in her backpack to remind her of home. Elliot takes her outside and waits for the school bus. News comes on TV about scientists discovering new things about plants. They explain that strange plants are still being found in some places. This means it's a biological reaction of nature. The reporter asks, "Did all this happen at a certain time?" The scientist replies, "It's the power of nature. We can't fully understand it." He warns that something bigger might be ahead. Alma takes a pregnancy test. The test reveals that she is pregnant. She smiles and is overjoyed. She goes out and waits for Elliot to arrive. As soon as Elliot returns, she gives him the good news. They embrace, as their lives are about to begin anew. The movie ends with this scene.